0347 hours. Forward Operating Base Salerno, Afghanistan. The encrypted message notification cut through the darkness of my quarters like incoming artillery. I'd been dodging Taliban fighters and roadside bombs for 7 months, thinking the biggest threats were outside the wire. I was dead wrong. The urgent alert from Navy Federal Credit Union flashed across my secure device. Fraud detection. Multiple large withdrawals require immediate verification. Total unauthorized transactions. $143,000 in past 96 hours. My hands went numb as I accessed our joint accounts. Unauthorized cash withdrawals. Forged loan documents. My wife had systematically emptied our accounts while I was in firefights. Most soldiers would have called home screaming. But 12 years of Army intelligence training had taught me something different. When you identify a hostile target, you don't alert them to your awareness. You gather intelligence, build a comprehensive picture, then neutralize the threat completely. Kayla had no idea what she just triggered. Military training doesn't just cover combat, it includes hunting enemies. Hey friend, a quick one before we continue, please subscribe. It's 1 second for you but a big deal for me. I'm Sergeant First Class Elias Nakamura, deployed overseas, and I just discovered my wife thought she could rob me blind while I was dodging bullets. She assumed deployment made me helpless and unaware. She was about to learn that military intelligence training works exactly the same way on domestic threats as it does on foreign enemies. The alert had arrived during my shift monitoring enemy communications from our signals intelligence facility at FOB Salerno. For 7 months, I'd been running counterintelligence operations in eastern Afghanistan, intercepting Taliban communications and preventing attacks on coalition forces. My unit specialized in pattern analysis, identifying enemy networks, tracking their operations, and building comprehensive intelligence pictures that kept soldiers alive. I never imagined I'd be using those same skills to hunt criminals operating in my own off-base civilian home in Colorado Springs. The financial alert contained details that made my blood run cold. $47,000 withdrawn the exact day my unit had engaged in a 12-hour firefight with Taliban forces. $38,000 transferred while we were conducting a high-risk mission to eliminate a bomb-making cell. $58,000 liquidated from our savings during a communications blackout when my family thought I might be dead. The timing wasn't random. Every major theft occurred within 48 hours of Kayla receiving my emails about dangerous operations. She turned my combat deployments into opportunities for systematic theft. I accessed our complete banking records through the base's secure internet connection. The scope of betrayal was staggering. Our VA home loan on our off-base house in Colorado Springs had been illegally refinanced without my knowledge. The civilian home we'd purchased with military benefits had been leveraged to maximum value, with proceeds flowing into accounts I'd never authorized. My combat pay, hazardous duty allowances, and re-enlistment bonus had been systematically diverted. Kayla hadn't just stolen money, she'd methodically destroyed everything we'd built during my military career. But the sophistication of the operation caught my attention immediately. These weren't emotional purchases or amateur mistakes. The transactions followed patterns consistent with professional asset liquidation. Someone with expertise was directing Kayla's actions. I contacted our home security monitoring service using military credentials. The 24/7 company confirmed my suspicions. Sergeant Nakamura, we show 19 separate incidents of unregistered individuals entering your Colorado Springs residence over the past 5 months. Our surveillance system captured detailed footage of all activities. I requested immediate access to all security recordings. What I discovered confirmed my worst fears. Kayla wasn't operating alone. The footage revealed a professional-appearing male subject who'd visited our off-base civilian home repeatedly with briefcases, scanning equipment, and document processing materials. He knew exactly where to locate our important papers, how to access our home safe, and which financial institutions to target for maximum theft. More concerning, he clearly had advanced knowledge of my deployment schedule. Every visit coincided with periods when my unit was conducting extended operations or communication blackouts. Someone had provided him with operational intelligence about my military activities. I designated him primary target in my investigation files and began systematic analysis using counterintelligence techniques I employed against enemy networks. The subject's vehicle license plate was clearly visible in multiple recordings. Cross-referencing through available databases revealed the registered owner, Vincent Torres, a civilian with extensive criminal history across multiple states. Wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy charges, and, most significantly, 4 previous convictions for targeting military families during overseas deployments. Torres wasn't just a random criminal. He was a specialist who systematically hunted deployed service members. Security footage also revealed critical evidence of coordination between Kayla and Torres. Multiple recordings showed them reviewing financial documents together, with Kayla clearly signing papers and taking detailed notes. Those handwritten materials would become crucial evidence of criminal intent and conspiracy. I documented every aspect of their operation using the same methodical approach I employed for enemy network analysis. By 0800 hours, I'd assembled 53 pages of documented evidence and developed a working hypothesis about their operation's scope and connections. But before taking any action, I needed to determine exactly who I was dealing with and whether other military families were being systematically targeted. The critical tactical decision was maintaining operational security. If Kayla and Torres discovered I was investigating them, they might accelerate their theft operations, destroy evidence, or disappear before I could build a comprehensive federal case. I'd spent years tracking insurgent networks in hostile territory using systematic intelligence gathering. Now I was going to track financial predators operating in my own home, using identical methodical techniques that had kept my unit alive in combat operations. For the following 4 weeks, I conducted the most comprehensive investigation of my military career while maintaining regular counterintelligence duties in a combat environment. The operational challenge was significant. By day I hunted Taliban networks, by night I tracked domestic criminals systematically robbing military families. I began by researching Torres's criminal background through military and law enforcement databases. His operational pattern was consistent and deeply troubling. Torres specialized in targeting military families during combat deployments, focusing specifically on those with substantial assets and limited oversight capabilities. His previous convictions revealed sophisticated methodology. Torres researched military units' deployment cycles, identified families with significant financial resources, and systematically approached military spouses with fraudulent investment opportunities and financial assistance programs designed to gain access to family assets and legal documents. But security camera footage from our off-base civilian home revealed the true professional nature of their criminal enterprise. Over 5 months, Torres had accessed our Colorado Springs house 21 times, always arriving with briefcases and professional equipment. Recordings showed him and Kayla methodically accessing our home safe, scanning important documents, and reviewing financial paperwork with business-like precision. Most damaging, multiple recordings showed Kayla providing Torres with copies of my deployment orders, operational schedules, and unit communication protocols. She hadn't just provided access to our finances, she'd given him operational intelligence about my military activities and mission timing. Recorded conversations I could analyze through lip reading were devastating. Torres instructing Kayla on timing their thefts to coincide with my unit's most dangerous engagements. Kayla confirming when I'd be unreachable during extended combat operations. Both discussing my deployed colleagues as potential future targets for their criminal network. They'd weaponized my military service as a targeting mechanism for organized crime. Using secure military communications, I contacted Staff Sergeant Antonio Rivera, a signals intelligence specialist stationed at Fort Gordon with advanced digital forensics training. I'd served with Antonio in Iraq and trusted him completely with classified information. "Elias, what you're describing matches intelligence patterns we've been tracking through military channels," Antonio told me during our encrypted video call. "We've documented at least 12 similar cases of deployed personnel getting systematically robbed by organized criminal networks. FBI has an active investigation, but they need additional evidence to execute arrests." Antonio connected me with Captain Rebecca Gray, a JAG attorney specializing in military family legal protections and federal law enforcement coordination. Captain Gray immediately recognized the federal jurisdiction implications of Torres's criminal operation. "Sergeant Nakamura, what they've committed constitutes multiple federal crimes with enhanced penalties," Captain Gray explained during our secure video conference. "Unauthorized VA loan refinancing, wire fraud across state lines, identity theft targeting federal employees, and conspiracy to defraud military personnel during combat operations. This falls under federal jurisdiction with significant sentencing enhancements." Captain Gray had been coordinating with FBI Special Agent Marcus Washington, who'd been investigating organized fraud networks targeting military families for over 3 years. Agent Washington has been building cases against criminal enterprises that specifically target deployed military personnel, Captain Gray continued. Your evidence could provide the breakthrough needed for arrests, but you'd need to allow them to continue operations while federal agents gather additional comprehensive evidence. The tactical decision was clear: accept short-term losses to achieve long-term justice and community protection. Ma'am, if allowing temporary theft helps protect other military families from systematic predators, that's the mission priority. Over the following weeks, I expanded my investigation using advanced counterintelligence methodologies while maintaining strict operational security. Working with Antonio's digital forensics expertise, we discovered Torres's network maintained detailed files on military families with specific vulnerabilities, recent combat deployments, substantial deployment bonuses, VA home loans, and spouses with limited financial experience. They infiltrated military spouse social media groups and family readiness organizations to collect intelligence about deployment schedules, family finances, and personal vulnerabilities. The network included former military personnel who provided insider knowledge about military procedures, legal protections, and oversight limitations during overseas deployments. Their criminal enterprise spanned 14 states and had systematically targeted over 80 military families during deployments over the past 4 years. Most critically, we identified their active targeting list. Torres's network was currently approaching 12 military families whose spouses had deployed within the past 90 days. Working with Captain Gray and Agent Washington, we developed a comprehensive strategy to protect these families while gathering final evidence for federal prosecution. For 8 additional weeks, I watched them systematically rob my family while documenting their crimes with military precision. Every forged document, every unauthorized transaction, every recorded conversation was cataloged as evidence for federal prosecution. The most difficult aspect was maintaining normal communications with Kayla while knowing she was actively betraying me. During scheduled video calls, she would express apparent concern for my safety and ask detailed questions about my missions. I provided routine updates while knowing she was sharing that operational intelligence with criminals who were timing their thefts to my combat engagements. But the investigation had revealed something crucial. Torres's network had systematically stolen over $5.8 million from military families over 4 years. Our case wasn't just about personal justice. It was about protecting the entire military community from organized predators who specifically targeted deployed service members. By the end of 12 weeks, we had assembled evidence linking Torres's operation to federal crimes in 14 states, involving over 80 military families, with federal violations that would result in life sentences. FBI Special Agent Marcus Washington represented exactly what I'd expected from someone who dedicated his career to hunting organized criminals. Methodical, relentless, and absolutely committed to destroying networks that targeted military families. Sergeant Nakamura, your documentation represents the most comprehensive case file federal law enforcement has received in over 15 years, Agent Washington told me during our first secure video conference. But what you've uncovered reveals systematic criminal exploitation that extends far beyond your individual circumstances. The scope was overwhelming. Working with federal investigators and military intelligence resources, we'd mapped Torres's network across 14 states, with documented connections to organized criminal enterprises specifically targeting deployed military personnel nationwide. We estimate they've stolen over $7.4 million from military families during the past 4 years, Agent Washington continued. Your evidence has revealed the operational structure we've needed to dismantle their entire criminal organization. Torres's operation wasn't opportunistic crime, it was systematic warfare against the military community. Vincent Torres directed operations from Colorado Springs, coordinating criminal activities across multiple states while maintaining operational security that had avoided federal detection for years. 4 network members posed as military spouses on social media platforms, infiltrating family readiness groups and spouse support networks to identify potential targets and gather intelligence about deployment schedules and family vulnerabilities. Professional criminals created fraudulent power of attorney documents, VA loan paperwork, and identity theft materials specifically designed to exploit military family legal vulnerabilities and deployment protections. Money laundering specialists managed asset liquidation and fund transfers through complex networks designed to circumvent federal financial monitoring systems and avoid detection. Former military personnel provided insider knowledge about deployment schedules, military legal protections, and oversight limitations that criminals could systematically exploit. The network had developed sophisticated criteria for selecting military families to systematically victimize. Recent combat deployments indicating limited oversight and emotional vulnerability, substantial deployment bonuses or combat pay providing high-value targets for theft, VA home loans on off-base civilian housing enabling complex real estate fraud schemes, military spouses with limited financial experience who were easier to manipulate and deceive, and extended deployment schedules, providing extended time for systematic asset stripping. But their most disturbing operational capability was intelligence gathering about military activities. Sergeant Nakamura, they've been systematically monitoring military units' social media pages, official family readiness communications, and base newspaper publications to track deployment schedules and operational activities, Agent Washington revealed. They knew when your unit was engaged in combat operations and timed their theft activities accordingly. The network maintained detailed operational files on targeted families, including deployment schedules, financial assets, family relationship dynamics, and psychological profiles of military spouses. Their operational security was sophisticated enough to avoid federal detection while systematically robbing military families for years. Working with Agent Washington and military intelligence specialists, we identified 67 additional military families that had been victimized by Torres's network across 9 states. Average theft per family exceeded $108,000, with total documented losses approaching $6.2 million across all identified victims. Multiple military personnel had been forced to return from combat deployments early due to family financial crises created by systematic theft operations. Military spouse support networks had been infiltrated and compromised, significantly reducing trust and effective communication within military communities. Criminal access to military deployment schedules and operational information posed broader security risks extending beyond financial theft. Most significantly, we discovered that Torres's network maintained connections to similar criminal enterprises in California, Texas, Florida, and North Carolina, suggesting a national conspiracy to systematically exploit military families. This isn't just organized crime, Captain Gray explained during our joint briefing with federal investigators. This represents systematic attack on military readiness and family stability. Pentagon leadership is treating this as a national security threat. Agent Washington assembled a comprehensive multi-agency task force including FBI financial crimes specialists with expertise in military-targeted fraud operations, military intelligence officers with counterintelligence backgrounds and network analysis training, JAG attorneys specializing in federal military protection laws and enhanced sentencing, Treasury Department investigators tracking sophisticated money laundering operations, and state and local law enforcement agencies coordinating arrests across multiple jurisdictions. The investigation had evolved beyond individual justice to become a federal operation protecting military families nationwide. Over 16 weeks of investigation, we assembled comprehensive federal evidence including 312 hours of security camera footage documenting systematic criminal activities, complete financial records demonstrating organized theft and money laundering operations, communication intercepts revealing operational coordination and systematic target selection, criminal background investigations linking network members to previous military family fraud, victim statements from 67 military families across multiple states, documentation of systematic infiltration into military spouse support networks, and evidence of extensive intelligence gathering about military deployment schedules and operational activities. But the most incriminating evidence consisted of recorded conversations between network members discussing deployed service members by name, unit, and current operational location while planning coordinated theft operations. They've been treating military families like an organized catalog of criminal targets, Agent Washington stated grimly. These recordings demonstrate them discussing deployed personnel's combat activities while simultaneously planning theft operations timed to those engagements. The arrest operation required military-level precision and multi-state coordination. Torres's network spanned multiple jurisdictions, with members who might flee or systematically destroy evidence if alerted to federal investigation. We're executing simultaneous arrests at 18 locations across 7 states, Agent Washington explained. Every network member will be taken into federal custody before any individual can warn others or destroy critical evidence. Information about the investigation had circulated through military intelligence channels, generating overwhelming support from the service member community nationwide. Military spouse networks that had been systematically infiltrated by Torres's operation were implementing enhanced security measures and early warning systems to identify and report suspicious approaches from potential criminal recruiters. Working with JAG officers and federal prosecutors, The investigation was establishing important legal precedents for protecting military families from organized financial exploitation. The federal charges we're filing will establish new legal frameworks for prosecuting organized crimes against deployed military personnel, Captain Gray explained. Your case is fundamentally changing how federal law enforcement protects military families from systematic exploitation. Torres's network faced federal sentences that would effectively imprison them for life. The final investigation phase focused on preventing network members from fleeing or destroying evidence while maintaining operational security. Federal surveillance teams monitored all known associates while preserving investigation cover. But I wanted something beyond standard prosecution. I wanted to observe their reaction when they realized their helpless deployed soldier had systematically destroyed their criminal enterprise using military intelligence training. The coordinated arrests were scheduled for the following week, timed to occur simultaneously across multiple states before network members could communicate or coordinate any response. Torres's organization had spent 4 years systematically attacking military families while service members risked their lives overseas. They were about to discover the consequences of targeting a community that protects its own with military precision and federal law enforcement support. Coordinating a multi-state federal investigation while deployed in a combat zone demanded the same operational precision and security protocols I employed for counterintelligence missions against enemy networks. Agent Washington, Captain Gray, and I developed a comprehensive operational plan that would simultaneously protect ongoing victims while gathering final evidence for federal prosecution. Sergeant Nakamura, we're implementing what federal law enforcement calls a controlled operation, Agent Washington explained during our encrypted video conference. We'll allow Torres's network to continue their criminal activities for exactly 18 more days while federal agents monitor and document every action they take. The strategy was tactically sound. Allow criminals to believe they were operating undetected while building an absolutely comprehensive federal case with overwhelming evidence. FBI surveillance teams were strategically positioned near Torres's primary residence and operational center in Colorado Springs, his secondary operation facility in Jacksonville, North Carolina, the off-base civilian homes of 6 other network members across multiple states, financial institutions they utilized for money laundering operations, and document forgery facilities they operated in Norfolk and Denver. Every phone conversation, every operational meeting, every financial transaction, every document exchange was being monitored and recorded with comprehensive federal court authorization. But the most incriminating evidence continued accumulating from Kayla herself. Unknown to her, federal agents had obtained extensive warrants to monitor all communications from our Colorado Springs home's internet and phone connections. For 6 weeks, they recorded every conversation between Kayla and Torres's network as they planned their next systematic round of military family targeting. The recorded evidence was absolutely devastating. Kayla providing Torres with detailed intelligence about which of my deployed colleagues possessed high-value assets worth systematic targeting, including specific information about their off-base homes, financial situations, and family vulnerabilities. Torres instructing Kayla on precise timing for their theft operations to coincide with my unit's most dangerous combat missions, ensuring I'd be completely focused on survival rather than monitoring financial activities. Detailed operational discussions about creating fraudulent power of attorney documents to illegally access VA benefits and military financial accounts belonging to other deployed service members. Recorded conversations about keeping Elias distracted with fabricated family emergencies, if I started asking questions about our finances during deployment communications. Kayla and Torres discussing systematic approaches to other military spouses, with specific strategies for identifying and manipulating vulnerable targets within military communities. Most incriminating of all, multiple recorded conversations where they discussed my combat activities and unit engagements while planning theft operations, including specific references to news reports about firefights my unit had survived. They hadn't just betrayed me personally, they'd weaponized my military service and combat deployments against me while I was risking my life defending the country overseas. Captain Gray reviewed the recorded evidence with military legal experts at the Pentagon. Sergeant Nakamura, what they've committed constitutes systematic psychological warfare against deployed military personnel during active combat operations. Federal prosecutors are treating this as a direct attack on military readiness and national security. The evidence we'd systematically gathered supported federal charges far exceeding simple financial fraud. Vincent Torres faced conspiracy to commit wire fraud across state lines, 52 counts, up to 20 years each, identity theft targeting federal employees, 31 counts, up to 20 years each, money laundering through interstate commerce, 38 counts, up to 25 years each, conspiracy to defraud federally backed loan programs, 19 counts, up to 35 years each, and violations of federal military family protection statutes, 27 counts, up to 15 years each. Kayla Nakamura faced wire fraud across state lines, 29 counts, up to 20 years each, conspiracy to commit mail fraud, 21 counts, up to 15 years each, identity theft targeting federal employee family members, 14 counts, up to 20 years each, violations of military family protection statutes, 18 counts, up to 15 years each, and providing material support to organized criminal enterprise, 11 counts, up to 30 years each. Network associates faced various comprehensive charges ranging from 45 to 150 years federal prison time, depending on specific roles within the criminal organization. Agent Washington coordinated with federal prosecutors across 7 states to ensure simultaneous filing of charges and arrest warrants that would prevent any network members from fleeing jurisdiction or systematically destroying evidence. "We're approaching this operation like a coordinated military strike," Agent Washington explained. "Simultaneous tactical arrests at all targets, immediate comprehensive asset seizure, and strategic interrogations designed to pressure criminals into providing evidence against each other. Working with federal financial investigators and military legal officers, we established comprehensive legal mechanisms to immediately freeze all accounts and assets connected to Torres's criminal network. The moment we execute arrest warrants, federal marshals will systematically seize all property purchased with funds stolen from military families," Captain Gray explained. "Every dollar stolen from military families will be recovered, plus substantial additional penalties and damages. Federal asset forfeiture proceedings would comprehensively target all real estate purchased with funds systematically stolen from military families, vehicles, equipment and personal property obtained through criminal proceeds, bank accounts, investment accounts and cryptocurrency holdings linked to the network, and business assets and operational equipment utilized for document forgery and identity theft operations. The most critical operational aspect was maintaining perfect security while allowing Torres's network to continue operating under comprehensive federal surveillance. They couldn't discover they were under investigation, or they might accelerate criminal activities, systematically destroy evidence, or flee to avoid federal prosecution. Sergeant Nakamura, you need to continue completely normal communications with your wife while knowing she's actively betraying you and your fellow service members," Agent Washington acknowledged. "That requires military-level emotional discipline and operational security." For 3 additional weeks, I maintained regular video communications with Kayla, providing routine deployment updates while knowing she was sharing that operational intelligence with criminals who were timing their systematic theft operations to my combat engagements. The psychological challenge was substantial, but military training had prepared me for maintaining operational security under extreme personal stress and enemy contact. During the final 3 weeks of the controlled operation, Torres's network provided additional comprehensive evidence of their criminal enterprise. Attempted systematic recruitment of 5 new military spouses whose husbands had recently deployed to combat zones, document forgery activities captured on comprehensive federal surveillance equipment, money laundering transactions monitored by Treasury Department investigators, communications with similar criminal networks operating in California, Texas, and Florida, and planning discussions for expanding their operations to target additional military installations and communities. 2 days before scheduled arrests, Agent Washington coordinated a final comprehensive briefing with all federal agencies involved in the operation. This investigation has revealed the largest known criminal enterprise specifically targeting military families in federal law enforcement history, Agent Washington reported. "We have documented evidence of systematic crimes against 84 military families across 14 states, with total damages exceeding $7.4 million. But the operation had evolved far beyond prosecuting Torres's network. Federal investigators had identified systematic connections to similar criminal organizations operating nationwide. Sergeant Nakamura's investigation has exposed fundamental vulnerabilities in how we protect military families during overseas deployments," Captain Gray added. "Pentagon leadership is implementing immediate comprehensive policy changes based directly on lessons learned from this federal case." Federal arrest teams were positioned at all target locations 48 hours before the coordinated operation, maintaining comprehensive surveillance while ensuring no network members could escape or destroy critical evidence. Agent Washington had arranged for me to observe the coordinated arrests via secure video feed from my forward operating base. Sergeant Nakamura, when we arrest your wife and her criminal partners, you'll be able to watch their reaction when they realize their helpless deployed soldier systematically destroyed their operation using military intelligence training and federal law enforcement coordination. I'd spent 6 months watching criminals systematically steal from my family while building a comprehensive federal case that would protect the entire military community from organized predators. I'd utilized identical systematic investigation techniques that kept my unit alive in combat operations to hunt domestic criminals who'd systematically attacked military families. Tomorrow morning, Torres's network would discover that military training and community solidarity extended far beyond combat operations to include protecting fellow service members from all threats. The coordinated federal arrests would commence at 0600 hours across 7 states simultaneously, ensuring no network member could warn others or escape federal prosecution. 0600 hours, January 22nd. I watched from forward operating base Salerno as FBI agents simultaneously executed arrest warrants at 18 locations across 7 states, systematically dismantling the criminal network that had targeted military families for over 4 years. The secure video feeds displayed Agent Washington's team arriving at Torres's Colorado Springs residence with comprehensive federal search warrants and arrest authorization. The professional criminal who'd built his enterprise on systematically exploiting deployed service members was dragged out in handcuffs, clearly shocked that his perfect operation had been detected and thoroughly documented by federal law enforcement. Federal agents, search warrant, echoed across multiple video feeds as coordinated teams in North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Virginia, and Nevada simultaneously arrested the remaining network members. But the arrest I'd been anticipating was occurring at my own off-base civilian home in Colorado Springs. At 0607 hours, federal agents executed a comprehensive search warrant at our house. Kayla opened the door expecting another routine day of managing her criminal enterprise. Instead, she confronted FBI agents with overwhelming evidence of her systematic betrayal of her deployed husband. Kayla Nakamura, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, identity theft, and violations of federal military protection statutes, Agent Washington announced as he placed my wife in handcuffs. Through the secure video feed, I watched Kayla's face as reality struck her. The helpless deployed soldier she discussed with Torres had been systematically documenting her crimes for 6 months. Every forged document, every unauthorized transaction, every recorded conversation was about to be utilized as evidence in federal court. I demand to speak to my husband immediately, Kayla demanded as agents began systematically searching our home. Your husband is the primary victim who provided comprehensive evidence for your arrest, Agent Washington replied. He's been working with federal investigators for the past 6 months while deployed in a combat zone. The expression of absolute shock and disbelief on Kayla's face made every sleepless night I'd spent building the comprehensive federal case worthwhile. The coordinated searches exceeded our most optimistic projections. Torres's Colorado Springs residence contained the operational headquarters for a criminal enterprise that dwarfed our initial estimates. Federal agents discovered detailed operational files on 147 military families across 14 states, professional document forgery equipment valued at over $95,000, computer databases containing deployment schedules for multiple military units across all service branches, financial records documenting over $8.1 million in systematic theft from military families, communication equipment utilized to coordinate criminal activities across state lines, and comprehensive training materials teaching criminals how to systematically target and manipulate military spouses. But most incriminating of all, extensive recorded conversations between network members discussing deployed service members by name, unit designation, and current operational location while planning coordinated theft operations. They've been systematically treating military families like a comprehensive catalog of criminal targets, Agent Washington reported during our post-arrest briefing. We discovered spreadsheets tracking deployment schedules, family assets, and detailed vulnerability assessments for dozens of military families. Within 8 hours of the coordinated arrests, federal prosecutors across multiple states filed comprehensive charges against the entire criminal network. Vincent Torres faced 52 counts of wire fraud across state lines, 38 counts of money laundering through interstate commerce, 31 counts of identity theft targeting federal employees, 27 counts of violations of military family protection statutes, and 19 counts of conspiracy to defraud federally backed loan programs, with federal sentencing guidelines of 220 to 280 years in federal prison. Kayla Nakamura faced 29 counts of wire fraud across state lines, 21 counts of conspiracy to commit mail fraud, 18 counts of violations of military family protection statutes, 14 counts of identity theft targeting federal employee family members, and 11 counts of providing material support to organized criminal enterprise, with federal sentencing guidelines of 125 to 170 years in federal prison. Network associates faced various comprehensive charges ranging from 35 to 110 years federal prison time, depending on specific roles within the criminal organization. Federal marshals immediately executed comprehensive asset forfeiture warrants, freezing all accounts and property connected to Torres's network. The immediate seizure results were staggering: $6.8 million in cash and investment accounts, 31 real estate properties purchased with stolen military funds, 47 vehicles and equipment items obtained through criminal proceeds, business assets and operational equipment valued at $1.4 million, and cryptocurrency holdings worth $1.8 million. Total federal asset seizure: $11.2 million, substantially exceeding estimated theft amounts and ensuring complete restitution for all victimized military families plus additional damages. The coordinated arrests generated immediate national media attention, with comprehensive coverage focusing on federal law enforcement's protection of military families and the sophisticated nature of the criminal enterprise. Public response was overwhelmingly supportive of military families and federal law enforcement efforts to systematically protect deployed personnel from organized financial exploitation. The arrests immediately triggered comprehensive federal victim support services for the 147 military families affected by Torres's network. Agent Washington coordinated extensive assistance including financial recovery where all victims would receive complete restitution plus substantial additional damages from federal asset forfeiture proceedings, legal support where JAG officers and federal victim advocates provided comprehensive free legal assistance for families rebuilding financial security and protecting future assets, counseling services where military family support centers offered specialized counseling for families, dealing with systematic betrayal and financial exploitation during overseas deployments, and community protection where military spouse networks implemented enhanced security measures and early warning systems based on lessons learned from the comprehensive investigation. The investigation's findings prompted immediate comprehensive federal policy implementations protecting military families. Pentagon military family security protocols included enhanced financial monitoring systems for all deployed personnel, mandatory power of attorney restrictions during combat deployments, comprehensive pre-deployment security briefings about financial exploitation risks and recognition, rapid response teams for military families reporting suspicious activity or potential targeting, and secure communication systems enabling deployed personnel to monitor home financial activities. The FBI Military Family Protection Task Force included specialized federal agents dedicated to military community protection with military backgrounds, advanced monitoring systems detecting systematic military family targeting patterns, coordinated enforcement protocols with military legal offices and Pentagon security, intelligence sharing systems preventing criminal networks from relocating operations, and comprehensive victim support services for affected military families. Congressional Military Family Protection Act included enhanced federal criminal penalties for systematically targeting military families during deployment, improved VA loan protections preventing unauthorized refinancing during overseas service, mandatory reporting requirements for financial institutions serving military communities, and federal database systems tracking suspicious approaches to military families. Within 96 hours of the coordinated arrests, federal investigators had completely dismantled Torres's criminal enterprise and identified systematic connections to similar operations in 12 additional states. Sergeant Nakamura, your investigation has triggered the largest federal crackdown on military family financial exploitation in law enforcement history, Agent Washington reported. We've identified and systematically disrupted criminal networks from California to Florida that were utilizing similar tactics to target deployed personnel. Faced with overwhelming evidence and federal sentences exceeding 150 years, network members immediately began cooperating with federal prosecutors in exchange for reduced sentences. Torres's criminal associates provided detailed comprehensive information about similar networks operating systematically in California, Texas, Florida, and North Carolina, additional military families that had been targeted but not yet systematically victimized, criminal training methodologies and operational security techniques, financial institutions and businesses that facilitated their systematic operations, and connections to organized crime families specializing in military community exploitation. 4 weeks after the arrests, I received official notification that all stolen assets had been completely recovered, with additional federal penalties that exceeded our original losses by 420%. But more satisfying than financial recovery was the message Agent Washington delivered during our final briefing. Sergeant Nakamura, your wife and her criminal partners have been so completely shocked by the comprehensive scope of your investigation that they're competing to provide evidence against each other. Criminals always panic when they realize they've been systematically outmaneuvered by superior intelligence. The network that had systematically attacked military families for years was destroyed by military precision, federal justice, and community solidarity. 8 months after returning from deployment, I stood in federal court watching Vincent Torres receive his sentence. 247 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. The judge's words resonated through the courtroom with the full authority of federal law protecting military families. Mr. Torres, you and your criminal organization systematically targeted military families while service members risked their lives defending this nation. This court considers your crimes a direct attack on national security and military readiness. Federal law will ensure you never again threaten any military family. Kayla received 156 years in federal prison with mandatory comprehensive restitution requirements. During her sentencing, she attempted to claim she'd been manipulated by Torres's network. The judge reviewed extensive recordings of her enthusiastically discussing my deployed colleagues as systematic targets. Mrs. Nakamura, you didn't just betray your husband, you systematically betrayed the entire military community. Your recorded statements demonstrate clear intent to systematically exploit deployed service members and their families. This court rejects any claim of manipulation and holds you completely accountable for your crimes against military families. The remaining network members received sentences ranging from 42 to 127 years in federal prison. Every individual who participated in the systematic attack on military families faced decades behind bars with no possibility of early release. Federal asset forfeiture proceedings recovered $11.2 million from Torres's network, ensuring complete restitution for all 147 victimized military families. In my case, federal recovery exceeded our original losses by 420%, including penalties, interest, and punitive damages. Every affected military family received complete recovery of systematically stolen funds, additional comprehensive federal penalties paid by criminals, free legal support for rebuilding financial security, specialized counseling services for dealing with betrayal and systematic exploitation, and enhanced protection protocols preventing future victimization. The investigation's impact extended far beyond individual justice, creating permanent comprehensive protections for military families nationwide. Based directly on evidence from our case, Congress passed comprehensive legislation including automatic financial monitoring systems for all deployed personnel, enhanced federal criminal penalties for systematically targeting military families during deployment, comprehensive VA loan protections preventing unauthorized refinancing during deployment, specialized federal law enforcement units dedicated exclusively to military family security, and mandatory reporting requirements for suspicious activity targeting military communities. Military leadership implemented immediate comprehensive safeguards based on lessons learned from our investigation. Mandatory pre-deployment financial security briefings for all service members, enhanced power of attorney restrictions during combat deployments, secure encrypted communication systems for deployed personnel to monitor home finances, military family liaison officers trained in financial exploitation recognition and response, and rapid response teams for military families reporting suspicious financial activity. Agent Washington received promotion to head a comprehensive new federal task force specifically protecting military communities from organized crime. Specialized agents with military backgrounds understanding deployment vulnerabilities, advanced financial monitoring systems detecting systematic military family targeting patterns, coordinated enforcement protocols with military legal offices and Pentagon security, comprehensive intelligence sharing preventing criminal networks from relocating operations, and extensive victim support services for affected military families nationwide. My role in exposing and systematically dismantling Torres's network created opportunities that completely transformed both my military career and ability to protect fellow service members. I received permanent assignment developing comprehensive protection protocols for deployed personnel and their families, combining military intelligence training with federal law enforcement coordination. Multiple agencies requested specialized expertise in investigating organized crimes targeting military communities, providing substantial additional income while serving fellow service members. JAG offices nationwide implemented comprehensive training programs teaching deployed personnel how to recognize and systematically respond to financial exploitation attempts. Family readiness groups across all service branches adopted enhanced security protocols based on lessons learned from our comprehensive investigation. The skills developed hunting insurgent networks in Afghanistan translated perfectly to protecting military families from systematic domestic predators. 3 years after the coordinated arrests, federal monitoring demonstrated dramatic improvements in military family financial security. 89% reduction in reported financial exploitation of deployed personnel, 0 successful large-scale criminal networks targeting military families, 97% of surveyed military spouses reported increased confidence in financial protection during deployment, 203% increase in suspicious activity reporting by military communities, and 98% victim satisfaction with federal recovery and comprehensive support services. Rebuilding life after systematic betrayal required the same methodical approach utilized for the investigation. With complete asset recovery and comprehensive criminal justice achieved, I focused on establishing relationships based on trust and military community values. Working with federal agents, military legal officers, and Pentagon security specialists created lasting professional relationships focused on protecting military communities from organized crime. The investigation connected me with service members nationwide who'd faced similar challenges, providing ongoing mutual support and professional development opportunities. Finding someone within the military community who understood deployment challenges, operational security, and service commitment eliminated relationship complications that civilians might not comprehend. Converting systematic personal betrayal into comprehensive community protection provided deep satisfaction that extended far beyond individual justice, demonstrating that military training could effectively protect fellow service members from all threats. The most significant achievement was creating permanent comprehensive protections for future military families. Military installations worldwide now provide mandatory pre-deployment briefings about financial exploitation risks and systematic prevention strategies. Financial institutions serving military communities implemented specialized monitoring systems detecting suspicious activity patterns systematically targeting deployed personnel. Federal court decisions established comprehensive legal frameworks protecting military families from organized financial exploitation with enhanced penalties. Military and federal law enforcement agencies developed permanent intelligence sharing protocols preventing criminal networks from systematically targeting service members. Military spouse support networks maintained heightened awareness of exploitation attempts, with proven comprehensive reporting and response systems. The investigation proved that military training extends beyond combat operations to systematically protecting fellow service members from all threats. Every deployed service member deserves comprehensive community protection from financial predators who systematically target military families during combat deployments. Torres's network made one fatal error. They assumed deployment made military personnel helpless and unaware. Instead, they systematically targeted someone with advanced intelligence training, methodical investigation skills, and absolute determination to protect fellow service members. Their systematic attack on military families was defeated by military precision, comprehensive federal law enforcement cooperation, and the protective instincts of the military community. 4 years after deployment, my life had been completely transformed through applying military training to systematically protect my family and community. I received permanent Pentagon assignment to Military Family Security Division with ongoing comprehensive federal law enforcement consulting opportunities. I married Captain Sofia Gutierrez, a military intelligence officer who understood both operational security and service commitment completely. Asset recovery plus career advancement created financial security substantially exceeding pre-betrayal levels. I became a recognized leader in military family protection with continuous opportunities to help fellow service members nationwide. The case established permanent comprehensive federal protections for military families and demonstrated that service members could effectively defend their community from domestic threats using military training and systematic investigation. Torres's criminal network had systematically attacked military families for years, stealing millions while service members risked their lives overseas. They were defeated by one deployed soldier who refused to accept betrayal and used military intelligence training to deliver comprehensive federal justice. The mission was complete. Military families nationwide were safer because one service member had turned systematic personal attack into comprehensive community protection. Military training doesn't just cover combat, it includes hunting enemies wherever they threaten our community. Have you or someone you know experienced financial exploitation during military deployment? How do you think military training can be systematically applied to protect service members from domestic threats? Share your experiences with deployment challenges and community protection in the comments below.